Walk into your doctor's office with this M54 gas mask on. First of all, you'll get a laugh, but you'll also make a point. In a real chemical attack, you'll be the one to survive. The Patriot M54 gas mask offers complete eye, face, and respiratory protection against chemical, biological, and radioactive contamination. It's lightweight, it has very low breathing resistance. Order today and you'll get 30% off with coupon code STILL30. Click on this link below, www.getagasmask.com. Good evening. I'm still reporting on the coup. In what to date was the most explosive congressional hearing on the origins of the COVID pandemic, Senator Rand Paul hauled Dr. Anthony Fauci before a congressional committee for questioning.
Dr. Fauci, knowing that it is a crime to lie to Congress, do you wish to retract your statement of May 11th where you claimed that the NIH never funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, I have never lied before the Congress, and I do not retract that statement. This paper that you are referring to was judged by qualified staff up and down the chain as not being gain of function.
So let me finish. You take an animal virus and you increase its transmissibility to humans. Right. You're saying that's not gain of function?
Yeah, that is correct. And Senator Paul, you do not know what you are talking about, quite frankly. If the point that you are making is that the grant that was funded as a sub-award from EcoHealth to Wuhan created SARS-CoV-2. That's where you are getting. Let me finish.
We don't know.
Well, wait a minute.
It did come from the lab, but all the evidence is pointing that it came from the lab, and there will be responsibility for those who funded the lab, including yourself.
I totally
This committee will allow the witness to respond.
I totally resent the lie that you are now propagating, Senator. If you look at the viruses that were used in the experiments, that were given in the annual reports, that were published in the literature, it is molecularly impossible.
No one's saying those viruses caused it.
It
no
is
one is alleging that
molecularly.
those viruses caused the pandemic. What we're alleging is that gain-of-function research was going on in that lab, and NIH funded it.
That is
you can't get away from it. It meets your definition, and you are obfuscating the truth.
Last night, Hannity interviewed Senator Paul, and his comments need to be heard by every American and will ultimately go down in history as a major turning point in the cover-up of the origins of the COVID pandemic. Unfortunately for Dr. Fauci, as the news began to break that the NIH had been funding the Wuhan Virology's lab gain-of-function work, Fauci desperately began to construct his damage control strategy via emails to top colleagues on his government email account. Those emails have subsequently been released, and they are damning.
You read gain of function, what the NIH definition is. And, you take an animal virus, you increase transmissibility to humans, and that's gain of function. He denied that's gain of function, but that's what his own NIH defines as gain of function. Help me out with that.
I think the reasoning behind him being so resistant, so livid, and so full of ad hominem is he realizes that once the public realizes that the NIH under his leadership funded the Wuhan lab, that is beyond question they did. The NIH funded the lab. But once the public figures out that they were doing very, very dangerous research there, gain-of-function research, taking animal viruses and making them more transmissible to humans, once everybody puts this together, he realizes where the blame's going to attach. He has at least tangential responsibility. If this came from the lab that he was funding, my goodness, can you imagine the moral culpability that the man has? But you also have to place this in context. Since 2012, he has said repeatedly that yes, an accident can happen, but the research is worth it. Even if an accident were to cause a worldwide pandemic, the research is worth it. That judgment call is something that most Americans or people who have family members of the 4 million people who died would say, you know what, maybe that research isn't working if this contagion actually came out of a lab where they're doing this research. They also do this research in the United States. They do it in Galveston and in North Carolina. So this is a big debate, not just over blame, but over whether or not this could happen again in the United States. Realize that these emails are frantic, going back and forth. At 2 o'clock in the morning, he's still sending emails out. The first email he sends to his assistant is one of these research papers with Dr. Shi from the Wuhan Institute that is gain of function. His assistant responds, oh my goodness, this is gain of function research. It's like, oh no, they've discovered that this is going on and we might have funded the origin of this virus. So immediately they're circling the wagons. They're having urgent meetings. Meet with me immediately, he says to his assistant. Read this paper, which is a gain of function paper. He was alarmed. But then to his boss, he's putting on a different front and he's saying, everything's okay. It looks like there's no chance it came from the lab. Meanwhile, a virologist is sending him an email saying, 4 of us agree this looks like a virus that was manipulated in a lab. So, yes, from the very beginning, I think he was covering up because he realized that there would be a great deal of culpability, of blame attached to him if a lab that he was funding through the NIH turned out to be the source of a pandemic that caused 4 million people to die. That could be the worst governmental decision in the history of the world.
This needs to be highlighted. The worst governmental decision in the history of the world.
You kicked off your questioning of Dr. Fauci, emphasizing federal law makes lying to Congress a felony punishable by up to 5 years in prison. Is it your belief, based on the evidence, Senator, that he lied before Congress and broke the law?
Yes, and I will be sending a letter to the Department of Justice asking for a criminal referral because he has lied to Congress. We have scientists that will line up by the dozens to say that the research he was funding was gain of function. He's doing this because he has a self-interest to cover his tracks and to cover his connection to Wuhan lab. Now, does he deserve all of the blame? No, there's still some conjecture as to whether or not it came from the lab, but he's lying about whether or not he funded gain of function research, and yes, he should be punished.
I'm still reporting from just outside the one-time citadel of world freedom. Good day. This report is brought to you by Ageless Body, a powerful combination of 5 of the world's best immune-supporting antioxidants available packed into one capsule. Included is not just vitamin C, but one of the most bioavailable forms of vitamin C, magnesium ascorbate. Also included is a form of turmeric that is 46 times as absorbable as most other forms. To order, click on the link below, www.agewithbill.com.